What's good, YouTube? It's KB with Just Do Boxing back with another video. Before I get into the video, I want to say if this your first time on the channel, do your boy a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that bell icon, put it on all so you can get all new notifications as I drop content daily. And I checked the analytics and I realized 60% of the people that watch my content are not subscribed. So if you rocking with the content, do your boy a favor. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, man. We're on the road to 2,000, man. So let's get into it, man. Recently, I just read a post. I felt it was interesting, so I thought I'd bring it to the Just Do family to talk about, and I came across a post from Danny Garcia about a recent interview I believe he did with Fight Hype. And he stated that, he thinks a fight between him and Terence Crawford is a very big fight. He says they have history, and he feels as though, Crawford needs somebody like him. And I kind of understand where he's coming from, man. So let's get into it. Danny Garcia is 36-3, 21 KOs, 5'8", 68.5-inch reach. He's 34 years old, orthodox fighter, fighting out of Philly. We all know he was last in the ring December 5th of 2020 against, the undefeated unified world champion Errol Spence Jr., who he lost a 12-round unanimous decision to. I mean, he was thoroughly outboxed. He lost decisively, and out of 12 rounds, Danny Garcia probably won 3. Just to be honest, if we being realistic, he was dominated. You never seen Garcia beat in that fashion before, and I think it was very impressive how Errol Spence, controlled Danny Garcia, coming off a layoff and coming off, a car accident and all those things. I thought it was very interesting how he, and very impressive, should I say, how he beat Danny Garcia handily, So, since then, Danny Garcia ain't been in the ring, he's been out of the ring since December 5th of 2020, and, he's looking for a dance partner. He needs somebody of note to fight, and I think a fight with him and Terence Crawford could be very entertaining, very interesting. Reason being, we all know that Terence Crawford recently, filed a lawsuit against Bob Arum, and he split ways with him. So he's now a promotional free agent, I believe. I don't think he's officially signed to anyone yet, and he definitely needs a fight. I know it's a lot of talks with, him and Errol Spence meeting up to become, in an undisputed matchup. But, Errol Spence has some business to take care of April 16th with Yordenis Ugas. And, in the meantime, Crawford, if you ask me, he got a decision to make. Are you going to sit around and wait for the winner of Ugas and Errol, or are you going to be looking to fight somebody like a Danny Swift Garcia? And I think that'd be a solid opponent. I don't see a problem with it. And for the people that would complain about the fight, I mean, people didn't have a problem with, Terence Crawford fighting Sean Porter, in 2021, or fighting Kell Brook in 2020. And those are, both former opponents of Errol Spence. So I don't see why it would be a problem with him fighting another former opponent of Errol Spence and, a tough former champion like Danny Garcia. I think it'd be a hell of a fight. I think it'd be a good fight for Crawford. It'll allow him to stay busy and not be sitting on the shelf and things like that. So, he's getting older. He's also 34 years old. He's 38-0, 29 KOs, 5'8", 74-inch reach. He's southpaw out of Omaha, Nebraska. He was in the ring last when he stopped Sean Porter November 20th. You know what I mean? And he dropped Sean Porter twice, stopped him in the 10th. Kenny Porter waved the white flag or the tie, whatever you want to call it. And he became the first person to stop Sean Porter, and he retired him as well. So since then, he's been idle, and he's been in need of a opponent. And like I said, I think a fight with either Danny Garcia or Keith Thurman would be both good fights for boxing. You know what I mean? I think both dudes would definitely come and test Terence Crawford, and like I said, it would allow him to stay busy instead of waiting around for the winner of Spence Ugas, unless that's something he wants to do. But I just don't see a problem in particular with him having a fight in between to, you know, to stay busy instead of waiting it out, you know, because I'm just not a fan of, you know, fighters, especially over the age of 30, sitting around idle and not fighting and waiting for big fights to happen. And we all know how that could play out. So that's just my thoughts on this, man. I thought it was interesting that Danny Garcia felt like a fight between him and, you know, Terence Crawford would be a big fight. I agree with him. I think people will watch it. I think it'll do well, the numbers wise, and I think it'll be very entertaining for the sport. You know, regardless of who people think will win, I think it still would be a good fight. And like I said, it would be a way to keep Terence Crawford busy. That way, you know, if he and Errol Spence were to meet up later on for Undisputed, you know, it would allow him to come into that fight, you know, being active and, you know, coming in the best shape possible. And I think that just would make the fight between him and Spence the best possible fight we could get between those two guys in their prime. I mean, I think that's what needs to happen in boxing. I think we need you know, as long as Errol Spence is able to get past Yordenis Ugas April 16th, I don't see no reason in the world why we shouldn't get an undisputed fight between Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Bud Crawford. So that's my thoughts on the matter, man. I didn't want to make this video too long. As always, y'all get in that comment section. Let me know how I did in this video. Let me know if you would be interested in the fight between Terence Bud Crawford and, you know, Danny Swift Garcia. You know, and as always, get in that comment section and let me know if I gave Bud Crawford and Swift Garcia they just do, because that's what I always do here at Just Do Boxing. Until the next one, I'm out. Peace.